Okay, so this is a very interesting topic in the multimedia subject. The, the title is 7.2 Examples of Multimedia Systems. Now, the textbook that we are using to deliver the content of this subject, the IPT HSC course, there's two that we use, but this one in particular that we're using was published in the year 2000. So it's 20 years old, and it talks about the types of examples of multimedia, things like CD-ROMs and DVDs, which would have been pretty prevalent 20 years ago. And obviously things have changed. So this this discussion or this presentation is going to be really different because I'm going to try and make it as generic as possible because you may not be looking at this after I have created it in the year 2020. You may be looking at it a few years down the track, or if the syllabus changes, then of course, we might be looking at a different way of presenting this information. But it is worth still presenting the information and, showing some examples, but this presentation will probably be a lot more interactive than me just simply showing you examples of videos of what I have done in the past. Anyway, let's get into our Prezi. And so the heading, of course, is 7.2 Examples of Multimedia Systems if you're taking notes at home. And then it has a list of all these different types of examples, and they are very generic. So we have education and training. Now, let's open, do it again. Let's open YouTube, all right, and we'll type, look at this, multimedia in education, all right. Now, if you do that when you're watching this, you will get, obviously, if you're doing it right now in 2020, you'll get all these. You'll even find things like Computer Education for All, which is pretty much the classic example of what is multimedia. I even found a teacher, so there's even teachers who have created their own videos like what I'm doing at the moment. So, use of multimedia in teaching, use of multimedia in education. I'm using it right now. This is a classic example of teaching using multimedia. So I've got a multimedia presentation here, and I'm also recording what I'm talking about as far as the educational side of it. So there are a number of examples. If I find a good example, I'll put a link in the description or put a link in our OneNote. But you get the idea is that times have changed. If I talk about the past, let's say in the year 2000, the way that I used multimedia was very, very different. I had PowerPoint presentations, and I used to take a projector to my class that were hooked up to either the computer in the classroom, and I'd bring a USB or a floppy disk with the presentation on it, and then I'd go through it and ask students to take some notes. Now look at us, we're watching YouTube videos, we're interacting on OneNote. As you can see, we've got OneNote down here. We use Microsoft Teams, of course. We even email, and the way that we use multimedia in education is completely different. And also in training. So if I wanted to learn something, let's say how to cast on knitting, right? For beginners, right? So if I want to learn something, here we go. Here's a video that goes for 8 minutes on how to cast on if I was doing knitting. I chose this one because my wife was watching this one when I came home from work yesterday. Where do I learn, or what do I do? Okay, so I do I use Andy guitar, all right, because I'm doing I use this guy to learn, and he's really good. Or there's another one called Marty Guitar, and he's really good as well on how to actually use or learn using this. So, here's some songs that he does. Beginner acoustic guitar lesson 2, the A major chord. Whoa, learn how to play the A major chord. Or look at this, Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, and he teaches you how to play it. So we use multimedia for educational purposes. Now, you're going to ask yourself, why is that? Well, one of the reasons we do that is because of the way that we learn. And a lot of us are visual learners. 90% of the world are visual learners. We have to see something in order for us to learn it, or visualize it, or have it demonstrated to us so we can actually see something happen. So, or so that we can learn it. So, and interesting enough, teachers usually teach the way they want to learn it. So I'm a visual learner, so I use a lot of visuals when I'm teaching something. So that's why we have, that's why actually YouTube is so successful in delivering online learning, and that's why people, keep going back and back and back to those videos, because if they want to learn something, they can watch it over and over again, and that's why YouTube is so successful in that regard. We also use it for other things as well, but that's just the training part of education and training. Okay, so you can take a bit of notes on that as well. Your textbook has some, and you'll be surprised at how generic that is, and you try to make it as relevant as possible to the year that you're actually studying this course. Of course, we have computer-based training, and there's, for example, Coursera, is a computer-based training where you can actually, join in and join for free, and you can learn things. I am using this one here, which is from Udemy, which is a Python mega course that I have been learning. It won't play at the moment, but I've been doing some modules importing into Visual Studio, Visual Code, or Visual Studio Code, which is this one here, and you can see that I've been writing some code, and I have learnt heaps. Like, look at all these things that I have created, all these modules that I've been doing. So I'm learning heaps from that, and that's computer-based training, because I want to teach myself Python so that I can get better at computer programming, and you never stop learning, so I want to do that. So that's like computer-based training, which is also a facet of multimedia. This is one way of doing it. Of course, you can do, you can go onto YouTube. I know I'm going to mention YouTube a lot, so you can say Python tutorial for beginners. Here's one that goes for 6 hours. Here's another one that goes for 4 hours on how to actually learn Python. So that's sort of computer-based training, but it's all more like tutorials and instructional type thing. The next part of this is, of course, what we use it for in leisure and entertainment. The big one, of course, for multimedia is gaming. All right, so if we put in here gaming multimedia, let's see. Now, also, I'm in a school, so it's filtered. There you go. So we have like the examples of multimedia keyboard and things like that. We don't really get a very good search, and YouTube doesn't have suggestions. It'd be great if I went all the way down the bottom here and it said, "Did you mean a documentary about gaming? Gaming history, or what would we call it? PC gaming history." History. Let's see what PC gaming history comes up. History, PC gaming. Or look, video game documentary, PC gaming. That would show you some really good examples of different types of multimedia in games. Okay, and we also we watch movies as well. So if I go to, for example, my purchases, I buy movies. And I buy movies just in case there's a rainy day and when I need to show a movie. So I have things like Big Hero 6. Now that's a big multimedia production. Ready Player One, iRobot. These are the videos that I bought, and I keep them so that I can show movies, and that's for not only leisure and entertainment, but for educational purposes by watching multimedia productions as well. We use it for information as well. So the biggest one, of course, is our biggest, surprisingly now, the most reliable source of information. So what can I look up? Oh, let's do COVID. Why not? Let's do COVID. All right. So, is it going to let me? Yep. Okay. So here we go. We're in a time of COVID, and this is comes out of that, of course, of things like lessons that I create. But you can see that this is Wikipedia talking about, the coronavirus. Now, when Wikipedia first came out, I'll just make a couple of interesting points. When Wikipedia first came out, it was touted as anyone can contribute to Wikipedia. So that I can see the merits behind that. The site grows massively because people put in information about whatever they feel strongly about or they want other people to know about. But then it became like, is Wikipedia a trusted source and things like that? Well, I have that there are actually people now employed to ensure that the source of information is a trusted source. So they do a lot of editing and making sure that the information is real. I do know of a documentary that talks about there's about over 200 employees employed to look after Wikipedia. But when it was first created, anyone could edit a web page, and I have been privy to seeing web pages, let's say political Wikipedia pages, which have been edited by the opposition, and they're not very nice what they say, or even schools that have had some inappropriate subjects put in as a subject that they teach at the school. So, I have witnessed that, and I'm not going to go into detail in that in a recorded YouTube video, but if you want to come and see me and ask me about it, then I can certainly tell you about it. It's very interesting. Now, we use it now, why is that multimedia? Well, I did say to you that, I should have went back, but you can see that text and images is multimedia because it's two. So therefore we have, I just clicked on it and this is today's featured article. So we've got images and stuff like that. It's a multimedia product. All right. Now in the textbook, there's some interesting things that it talks about. It talks about multimedia encyclopedia. Now, you have probably never seen the what am I going to do? I'm going to do World Book. Let's do World Book. I'll show you World Book, images of World Book. Okay, so a while ago, World Book Online. No, I don't want World Book Online. I want World Book, and I want an image of it. Okay, so see these were books, and when I was young, if I had to do an assignment at school, I had to choose the World Book Encyclopedia, and this is what it looked like in the library. And you'd go to T in the books, and you'd look up, transportation or something like that, and there'd be a definition of it. And all the kids in the class would all write the same answers because, there was only one set of world books in the library, and, plagiarism was rife throughout the world. But nowadays we use, if I type this, maybe we get World Book DVD, or you even get it World Book Online. But we used to be able to get, only in 2014 we had a DVD. It was only $30 for those entire set. Now those books were thousands of dollars, and no one could, a house wouldn't buy them because after 12 months they were obsolete because they'd write new ones. So there was many volumes and things like that. So that's what we have. That's what we used to have. And then let's take a look at this World Book Online. It actually moved with the times, obviously. Right. And we have, look at that. So World Book Online is a place where you can actually get information from. But everyone goes to this place. Everyone does. So that's where we get our information from instead of a now multimedia encyclopedia, which was listed in the textbook over 20 years ago. Now, the other thing is we also have information kiosk. Now, an information kiosk, I'll just do another image search. I want to show you this. information. We don't usually see them anymore because of how powerful our mobile phones are these days. But imagine going to a shopping centre and you wanted to find something. So here's a dude who's gone to the shopping centre. He's looking for, I don't know. He might want to be looking for a new backpack. I don't know. But so he then will go to do that using an information kiosk. Very outdated nowadays because how amazing is it where we use, for example, location services on your mobile phone, and you walk into a shopping centre and your mobile phone knows you've walked into the shopping centre and it comes up with a prompt, and especially Google does, and then you say, hey Google, where can I find JB Hi-Fi, for example, and in Charlestown Square, and it'll say, oh, here it is here, and it comes up on your phone. So you don't have to use information kiosk. I did have a video of an information kiosk headset or headrest. It was in the car, so you jumped into a taxi and grabbed used the headset inside the taxi to find out where you were going or anything like that. I think another cool thing is that sometimes taxis are now getting Wi-Fi, and so you can have free Wi-Fi in the car. I think that's really, really cool thing. Of course, we have virtual reality and simulations. I'll show you something that I have done, Class VR. Okay, so I've even brought Class VR into the classroom, where they're virtual reality headsets, and I've had students create interactive things where you have to wear a headset to actually go into their world that they have created, or you can do other things where you can go on a virtual excursion. And this is the virtual headsets. You don't need a phone. You can set it up on your computer. It's a really good product. I'm not selling it. It's just, it was really cool to use, and it's VR technology. It comes with these like a whole boxes. This is what it looks like when you look in the headset, and you can hold your gaze onto something, and of course you can see the pyramid. So you're obviously going on an excursion to Egypt. That looks like Dubai to me. The stars, China maybe, and then that could be Mount Everest or something like that. But also you can get your students to actually create things in them. So that's so what is virtual reality? Well, we can also virtual reality is of course. Did you mean virtual reality? Yes, I meant that. Look at this. So here's some VR. Everyone recognises the HTC Vive, and you can do a number of things with that. I deleted all the videos on this, as I said before, because there's not much really that I could constantly update them, and I don't want to. I'd rather you just go and have a look on YouTube for different things. One thing you might want to look at is the virtual reality sphere. Here, right? Which is one where you actually have a headset on and you run around inside a sphere and play a game where you can shoot people. Huge big ball that would take up a lot of room in your living space, but you'd also get very, very fit if you're using it. But there are other ones. I'm pretty sure that you guys would probably say, oh, Mr. Buckle, there is other ones that are that you can use as well. And I've seen them, and I have seen other ones as well that are a lot smaller. They look like you're running on a treadmill, and it's strapped around your waist. Very cool. So virtual reality is for wearing headsets. We might have a session on virtual reality where you bring in your mobile phones, and we'll put some apps on your phone, and I'll bring in some headsets, and we'll have a bit of a play around. Of course, simulations are done so that we remain safe. All right, so if I just simply go to YouTube and say simulation or simulator, all right, I can see all these different types. Look, farming simulator. Oh, how cool. Right, boat patrol, flight sim. Yeah, $1 million flight sim. Let's do that. Flight simulator. All right, plenty of flight simulators that you can play even as games, like Flight Simulator 2020. but also for training for pilots. Now, what they do with flight simulators, they put them in an environment and they have to try and work out how to get out of it. I'm talking about pilots, commercial pilots, certainly. And then, of course, the last part of this, if you're looking at the textbook as well, it talks about multimedia design principles. And it talks about them because you are sometimes asked in the HSC to actually design something. So, for example, you might be asked to design a web page and show what the first page looks like. They're sometimes examining you on the features, the added features that you're going to put on that web page. So what type of buttons are you going to use, or what sort of interactivity is going to happen, or what sort of format or file format is going to be a video if you put on it, or whatever. But also, they also are looking for things like consistency. I'm sure that you have heard the word KISS, the KISS theory, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So the simpler the design, the better. So instead of having all the bells and whistles, for example, on a website, let's have a look at world's ugliest website. There is actually awards for the world's best and world's ugliest websites. So let's have a look at some images of websites. Oh, here we go. Here's one that I have used in the past in an exam type situation. It's not very big, but let's have a look at it here. Good Lord, this has all the bells and whistles in it, and it is death by colour. So it looks like a clown has vomited on you. It's disgusting. So one of the design principles is keeping it consistent, and that would mean consisting in your colouring as well as your lettering and things like that. We also have, clearly defined navigation, so you can see it now. If you look at this page, where do we go next? Well, of course, we go next down here, and that's, it's pretty obvious. Yeah, and also the KISS theory as well. I will assign you some homework with this one. I don't think I'll really worry too much about putting any videos into this one, any links in it. I might even say in the description, might be worth you finding your own just to have a look at, just to get some ideas. Now, with the HSC examination, the questions that you tend to see are not about specific things. They mainly want to know whether or not you know some innovative approaches to multimedia and products around the place. So, if you've heard or seen of anything, they might even ask you a question like around the scenario of TikTok, and maybe you've got to design an interface for that, or a chat feature or something like that, or they're the sort of things you've just got to think of, the innovative approaches of multimedia as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video.